the first thing that we are going to be looking at here is going to be our dashboard. And this is basically a general overview of the day. I can open these appointments, and as the appointments are completed throughout the day, the status here of everything will change. So for example, in addition to the staff app, I can come in and start appointments manually from admin here. And you can see here that the status changes as I go through different tasks that can be completed by an administrator, a pet owner, or a pet sitter, depending on what the action here is. So in this case, I'm going to cancel this appointment as an admin. And you can see here on the dashboard that that shows up as canceled. If I were to go in here and end the appointment manually, I can go ahead and end that appointment, and that will also show up in the dashboard here as that's done. That functionality can also be done through the staff app, so we'll get to that at the end. I'm going to skip ahead into the calendar here. And what we're looking at here is the actual scheduler. To start out on the left side here, I have a number of filters. As you can see here, we list the different statuses, and you can filter by status. So I can filter pending, scheduled, canceled, and it'll only show me the information that I want to see. The first thing I'm going to do is load our staff up here into the filters. And you can see when I do that, across the top here, each staff member is listed. So all of the color coding, as you can see by the filters here, is done by appointment status. But then we separate out each one of the sitters into their own column. This is what we call our staff view. It is drag and drop enabled. So if I want to make a change of some sort, I can always change the walker. Let's say that Denarius here called out. And I can also change the time. So if I want to move these around a little bit, I can certainly do that. And we have drag and drop. One thing I'm going to do is take you into the next views here. So what we have is our day view. So this allows you to see a full list of each appointment for the day or for the week if we select the week view. And as you can see here, this is just giving you a breakdown of the whole week. If we wanted to just see, for instance, one of our pet sitters' schedules, we could do that. We can see everything. I can also filter by customer, so we can just see those appointments. And then I can also take a look at the month view. And it's just going to take a sec because of the internet with the demo rolling. So here's our month view. One of the things I like to do in month view is use the pending filter. And this way I can see a list of all pending appointments and go into the date and approve them. So I'll take us into a pending appointment so we can see what that looks like. So what you're shown here is a map of where the house is so that you can get an idea of the area that you're looking at. Just some information about the appointment, about the customer, and any notes. And then we'll get into this in a minute, but this is our appointment form. So you can review this and see how the customer filled everything out. If I want to add an additional business note to this appointment, I certainly can. I can just say, and then I can approve the appointment, I can assign the walker and approve it. And we'll see here that it's no longer showing up in the pending. I'm going to take us back into the staff view. And go through the process of creating an appointment. And we'll take a look at the appointment form here. So what we're going to do is we'll do a 12 p.m. Appointment here under Stannis as the sitter. So we'll come in here and we'll pick a customer. We'll add a pet. We'll pick a service. All of these services we'll set up in the settings, and I'll take you through that in just a few minutes. We'll choose today, and I believe I said we were going to do this at noon. We can do a repeating appointment, so we can do 7 days a week. We can do specific days of the week, and we can do bi-weekly as well on those days. So I can pick Monday through Friday here. And if I want to add an end date, I can do that. So for this instance, maybe this is just someone needs something for the next couple weeks, and then they don't need service anymore. So we'll do that. We can choose a sitter here. And then we're going to add some add-ons. Maybe there's some meds, treats. We'll water the plants. This is letting me know that there's no automated surcharges being applied. But for example, if I go up here and choose a different customer that has multiple pets, first what we'll see here is that it's going to want us to select who's getting everything. And then you'll see here, this additional pets got added on automatically as an automated surcharge. And we'll get into setting those up and what's available again in just a few minutes when we get into the settings. So I'm going to add a business note. And we'll save this appointment. And you can see here now that we have a 12 p.m. appointment. I think I meant to put this under this schedule, so we'll just use the drag and drop there. And that'll be that. Do we have any questions about scheduling before I take you into what a completed appointment looks like? Doesn't look like it. All right. So what I'm going to do is just take you back to a previous date here. And we're going to look at an appointment that I completed for real by taking my dog for a walk. So here's the report card. The pet sitter will fill this out in their app, and we'll do that when we go into the apps here in a little bit. So they said everything that the pets did. I left a note as the pet sitter to the pet owner. Here's a map of where we went, and this is optional, and we'll talk about that as well. And here's the photos. The photo check-in is optional. So this is the picture I took to start the appointment. And then here's another picture that I took during the appointment, which was also sent to the owner. And then this information is available via email for the pet owner and via the pet owner's app. If I go back to today, we'll take a look at this canceled appointment. I have an automated cancellation fee set up for any time an appointment is canceled within 24 hours of the start time. So in this case, it's adding a cancellation fee automatically to this appointment. Now, it's possible that I want to override this. Maybe there's an extenuating circumstance, something like that. If the pet owner did this on their end from the app, I could just go in here, remove the cancellation charge, and save the changes. And now if I go back in there, you can see that there's no fee applied to this cancellation. All right, so that's the schedule here. What I want to do next is get into our messages system very quickly. What this allows you to do is send targeted emails to your customers based on data in the Scout system. So what I'll do here is start a new message. I'll give it a title. We're about to have one of these where I live. So what this is bringing up now is just all active customers that I have in the system right now. But what I can do is, for instance, if we're expecting a snowstorm tomorrow, I can just select the date. And then, for instance, maybe I don't want to send it to overnight people. I don't want them to worry that might show up, not show up, or something like that based on so maybe I only want to send it to my daytime walking people. I'll choose everybody's name here. And when I go down here, I can add a subject. So, and I can type a message here. I'm just going to type whatever. What I can do after that is I can send a sample. So and I can send that as an example so I can see what the email is going to look like before it goes out. I can save it as a draft, and we'll look at that in a minute, or I can go ahead and send it to all of the customers that I've selected above. I'm just going to discard this for a minute. Here's some drafts that are in here, and here's the winter advisory one. So if I have a template that I use each time, I can just open that up, duplicate the email, and customize it and send it out. And I'll still have this draft in here to use anytime there's a winter weather advisory. One of the other things we do when we have a feature release that affects either your staff apps or the pet owners apps is we'll put an email into your account here that you can use or not use to alert your customers that there's been an update. So this is when we added pet profiles to the app. And so what we did is we added this nice little email here to let pet owners know that they should download the new version of the app and start uploading their photos. I can still edit this. So if I just want to go ahead and change who it's going to, or I can even just say, this isn't really my style. I can just say, hey, everyone, and maybe want to spell that right. And I can do that and send that out. So we do that from time to time for you. And this is available both for customer emails and staff emails. If I go over into the sent area, in this demo account, we're kind of dealing with fake email addresses. So if I open this up, you can see that I sent it to 5 people. None of them opened it. 100% of the emails failed to go through, and none of them were sent to spam. Under normal circumstances, you'd probably see a lot of opens, very few fails, and very few spam. So, but it would pretty much look like this list in any one of these. On now to billing. So here's our billing and invoicing section. I'll get into more of the details about how billing works in the settings. It's just easier to describe when it's on the screen. But for this account, we're on weekly billing. Here's just a trend line of what the billings look like. Hopefully for you guys, it'll look like a nice upward slope there. But being a demo account, it's kind of all over the place here. I have a little breakdown of everything that's going on in the billing period if I hover over the little information button. So that could basically be like a journal entry to get your information over into your accounting software if you want to do it that way. I'll open the invoice, and we can just see a list of all the customers who were invoiced during the period and the status of their invoice. For this company, everybody's set to pay cash and check just because I can't hook this up to credit card being a fake account. So what I'm going to do is open up this closed invoice just because it's got the most services in it. So what we're looking at here is the invoice. This is emailed to your customer at the appropriate time. We'll go over that in just a few minutes as well. I can open up another invoice here. If I need to, I can apply a credit. And that'll show up as a line item. I can also make an adjustment. And that'll show up as well. And then we also have the ability to add a memo. So for instance, a number of our Canadian customers will add a memo that just has like their e-transfer number. So we can save that. And as you can see, it adds a memo to the bottom. Being that this is a cash account, I do have to manually mark the invoice as paid when I receive payment. So if I go ahead and do that, I have the option to add some information here. So I could do check number, and then I'll mark as paid. And if we come back out here, you'll see now that these 2 invoices have been closed. And when I come out here, I can see how much has been paid versus how much has been unpaid, and it'll update information as well. I am going to take this opportunity to skip ahead into the settings for the billing, and then we'll come back and look at a couple other things. So we offer billing in arrears, weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly. The way that this works is that in the instance of weekly, every Monday, we'll generate invoices for the previous Monday through Sunday. When we do bi-weekly or every 4-week billing, which is monthly, but it's really every 4 weeks, we still always generate invoices on a Monday for the previous billing period. The Monday invoices are in draft form, so you have the ability to do what we just did, go into the invoice, make edits, all that kind of stuff before your customer ever sees anything. Then on Tuesday morning, what we do for cash, check, and other customers is we send out the invoice to the customer via email automatically. It happens at like 4 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. For credit card customers, if you're integrated, we do offer credit card processing through Braintree Payments, which is a PayPal company. What will happen on Tuesday morning, instead of sending an invoice to your customers, we'll send a payment file over to Braintree. All the credit cards are stored on their systems. We don't store any credit cards here. All of the credit cards will be billed based on the data that we send over to Braintree. They'll send us data back letting us know what was processed successfully and what was not processed successfully. If the card was processed successfully, we'll send a payment receipt. Looks just like an invoice, detailing everything that you saw in the invoice section, except it'll be called a payment receipt. And we'll automatically mark the invoices paid for you. In the event of a declined payment, we will not update anything, and the system will automatically send your customer a notification that lets them know they need to update their credit card information, that they now have a past due balance. When they go in and change that, you can charge their card manually after they do that. If you forget to do that the next week or period when billing processes, we will automatically try any open balances again for billing. I'm going to move out of the settings here, and we're going to go into our file vault next. And what this is an area for you to keep files that are important to your business. So you can see here, I have a rabies vaccination record. Additionally, it's where we store all the profile photo pictures. So if I went ahead and downloaded this image, what you're going to see here is the profile picture for that account. So I can review those. And here would be a profile picture for a staff member. And then again, we have a couple more dogs. From here, you can, once a file is uploaded, either via drag and drop or the upload button, you can change the information. You can assign it to a user, add tags, descriptions, and all of that is going to be searchable. So if I just come in here, you can see here, it'll search out for that vaccination record. I have the ability to delete it, obviously, download the file, and I can also share the file. So if I go ahead and click on that button there, and I come in here to our chat, and I paste that in, if you were to click on that link, you would see the same thing I did when I opened the file, which is, in this case, going to be a picture of a race car. This is really handy if your staff member, for some reason, gets bit or somebody needs a copy of the rabies vaccination record. You don't have to print it out and bring it anywhere. You can just copy the link, send it to who needs to see it, and be done with that issue. Any questions about the file vault? This is different. We have a separate e-signing of service agreements section. So I will get into that part. But again, you can use this for employee handbooks. If you don't want to have people e-sign a service agreement, you can certainly scan and upload your service agreements in here. All right, I'm going to move on to the payroll report. So we provide reporting for payroll. We do not actually process any payroll. You would need to do that using a third party. But what I can do is select a date range for the pay period, which will generate the payroll for each one of the pet sitters who was active during the period that I selected above. It'll give you a total payroll breakdown. And then if I go ahead and open up their payroll, I can see all the details of when the service was for, what they're being paid for, and how much they're being paid for that service. In addition, if you have gratuity enabled and the customer leaves a gratuity, that will as well show up in this section. The next section is our staff section. I'm just going to go through it pretty quickly. This check mark here delineates that someone is set as an administrator, which would mean they have access to this part of the site. I can come in here and I'll just hit update, and you can see all the different fields available to fill out for your staff in here. I also have the ability to set custom payroll rates. So in the Scout system, for each service, add-on, or surcharge, we have the ability for you to set what we call a global payroll rate, meaning a rate everyone would basically start out at. From there, you can come in on a staff member by staff member basis and update their payroll to be a custom amount. So for instance, I think I have the global rates for all of this set to 50%, but I've come in for this customer and overrided the 2-hour visit to pay 55%, the 30-minute visit to pay 60%, or the 45-minute visit to pay 65%. I'm not limited to paying a percentage of the service amount. I can come in here and just add a flat rate override for the service as well. And I can do that for both primary services, what we call add-ons, and surcharges. And then we'll have any files here that are associated with this staff member in their like personal file vault here. Any questions about staff and entering their information? Pretty cut and dry for staff members. Moving on to customers, which is kind of the meat and potatoes here. What you can see here is that all of these customers are set to cash. If they were credit card, there would be a credit card symbol here. And if they were credit card but hadn't entered a credit card, you'd get a little warning symbol here that they have not yet entered that card information. I'm going to jump into this profile here. What we're seeing here is that I have a key code assigned. So this section here is for people who keep keys in a centralized location. Otherwise, you would use the lockbox code. If you have a lockbox and you keep a backup, you can put both of them in here. And when we push this information out to the pet sitter, the lockbox code would show up in the app rather than the key code by default, just because if there's a lockbox, theoretically, they don't need the key code information. You wouldn't want them to like have to come pick this up accidentally. So we just have a little bit of intelligence in there, helping the pet sitters know where they need to go to get what. I can leave some account notes. These notes are only available to the administrator, and I can set preferred staff members. Anything you see in this section is only available to the administrator. Your customer, staff, nobody else can change anything in this section. The next section down is the customer profile, and the pet owner can change this information on their own, and I can do that as well if I need to as an administrator. So here's their information. We do have room here for an additional recipient. So if we have a husband and wife or a mother and son or something like that, and one of them is the main person kind of handling the account, but the other person also wants to get the walk updates and service check-ins, you can add an additional person to receive those emails. And last, we have home entry instructions. So if there's an alarm, we can put the code in there. We can put the alarm instructions. And then if there's any home entry instructions that say go along with the key code or the lockbox information, we can enter that here, and the owner can also make changes just in case something changes with their home entry. So that is our customer card. The next section we have here is pets. So we can see here there's 2 pets in here for this customer. If I go ahead and open one of them here, we can take a look. There's 1,010 fields that can be filled out. And as you choose different information, there's the ability to add more details. So for instance, dog friendly here. If the dog's friendly, yes, then nothing shows up. If the dog's not friendly or they check no, they have ability here, or you do, to add a more detailed description of exactly what the issues with other dogs are. We can add feeding routines, medical instructions, medication, vaccinations, veterinarian information, anything you would need to know in case of an emergency. And then we also have just this other info, which is free form, and you can write anything you kind of want in there that doesn't get covered by another section. And then we have our internal notes, and these would be notes that are between the admin and the pet sitter. So you can type something in here like, I can save that. And so each pet has its own separate profile. If we move into billing here, what you're going to see here is just that I have cash enabled for this customer. If I was set up with credit cards, everybody would be defaulted to credit card automatically, and then I would be able to come in and set specific customers as cash customers, and we'll do that a little later. I'll show you how that works. We'll jump back into this section. And here I can just view all the invoices for this particular customer over time. Similar to the way that we can override payroll, we can also override the pricing of our services for a customer. So in this instance, instead of whatever the walk fee normally is, I would be charging $20 for this appointment, whereas for the daycare drop-off service here, I'm getting a 10% discount. So you can either override the price on a flat fee basis or give a percentage discount off of the price. And that can be done again for services, add-ons, and surcharges. And last, we have the file vault. And again, what we have here is just going to be pictures of the owner's pets and maybe any rabies vaccination records that I've uploaded, and I haven't for this customer. The next section here, which is our lead section. And what this is that we provide a form that you can add to your website to take in leads, new customers, however you want to refer to them. And it's it can be the first step of our onboarding process, which I'll also get into right here. So this is an example of a lead form that's installed on a site. And as you can see, it's a little slow because of the demo, so I apologize. But as you can see here, it's customizable to take on the look and feel of your website so that it integrates seamlessly. The only part that is actually Scout is this section right here with the form. All of the rest of this stuff is part of the website. Once a customer fills that out, they become a lead. If I open up this lead, I have some options here where I can mark the lead as contacted, and this way I can keep track of when I've talked to them. I also have the ability to convert them into a customer. When I convert them into a customer, I have the ability to convert only, and this will convert them into an inactive customer. Or I can convert and notify. So this will convert them into an inactive customer, but send them a notification to activate their account. Before I get into how that works, I'm just going to come over here as well and take you into inactive customers. I will inactivate a customer. Sorry about that. So I'll come in here, we'll deactivate this customer, we'll go in, and I have the ability, again, to activate the account. Similarly to converting from a lead, I have the ability to manually activate. So this will make the person an active customer without sending them an email to activate their account. The other option I have is to activate via email. Similar to the convert and notify function, what happens is that your customer is sent an email with a button or a link to activate their account. When they click that link, they're taken to a page where they set their password. And once they set their password, they're given a link to download the appropriate app, whether it be their staff member or customer activating. Once the customer downloads the app and logs in using their email address and the password they just set, there's a couple of options that you can force them to, or actions you can force them to take. A couple of them are optional. The first one being signing your service agreement. So we'll get into that in a moment, but if you have a service agreement active, they will be required to sign it before entering the app for the first time. The second thing you can do is require them to enter a credit card. And so if you are using the Braintree merchant service that we're integrated with, they will be required to enter their credit card before they can schedule an appointment. The last thing that they'll be required to do is create a pet profile unless you've done that for them manually through the admin section. Once they've optionally signed your service agreement and entered their credit card and they have a pet profile, then they are free to start scheduling and doing what they need to do in the customer app. So we're going to jump now into the settings, and I'm going to skip around a little bit just to make sure that we have time to go through everything and see the apps. The main thing I want to start with here is our scheduling preferences, kind of the meat and potatoes of the system here, the part you probably interact with the most. In this instance, I have arrival windows or time blocks set up, and we have some options here. So I have the ability to create predefined time blocks, and I can name them as well. And so you can see I have a number of those here. The other option that I have, which can be used with the predefined time blocks or on its own, is to allow custom time blocks. So when I turn this on, what happens is your customer is given the option of all of your predefined time blocks, and then they're given the option of custom. If they select custom, what they'll be asked to do is give the window that they would like you to show up. However, you get to restrict that a bit by giving a minimum window. So what this means is that a customer has to give you at least a 2-hour time block to show up. They can schedule an appointment between, say, 8 and 10 a.m., but they can't schedule one between 8 and 9 a.m. On the flip side, they can schedule something between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. So if it's, for instance, a cat that just needs attention once a day, but the timing isn't really relevant, they may want to give you more flexibility on when to show up, which is great. But this allows you to restrict some of your customers who are a little more demanding on having an exact time to show up. Once you have the time blocks all set up, you have two options for displaying the time block. So the first one, and what we're in now, is called hybrid. What this allows you to do is see specific times on the calendar as the admin. Your staff will see a specific arrival time, but your customer will still see the time block. So you're able to route and hold your sitters accountable while also managing the expectations of your customers. The other option is to be universal, and this means that you're going to schedule the time block as a block. Your staff is going to see an arrival window, so they'll have the ability to kind of choose when they want to show up within that window. And then your customers, again, will see the time block, so they'll know the arrival window to expect. We also have the ability to change the calendar display. So if I jump back over here real quick, you'll see that up and down the side of the calendar here, we have the times here. And I have this now set over to show universal time blocks. So that's why you're seeing everything as like these giant arrival windows. If I come back, and I'll go to hybrid, and I'll turn on the time block display, and we'll jump back into the calendar here. And you can see here that now I have specific times routing set up, but I can see the time block that it's assigned to here in the left-hand column. So a lot of different options just based on personal preference there for you guys. And that is how our arrival windows work. And again, you can override that and just assign specific times, in which instance your customer would say, like, here's what time I want you to show up. You would approve it for a specific time. They'll see that, and your staff member will see that time as well. Going to skip now to primary services. So these are what we call primary services because they're the main reason that you would be showing up. It's the first thing that your customer is going to choose when they're scheduling. So I have a number of them set up here. You're seeing some icons here, and that's because this is where we enable and disable GPS tracking and photo check-in. It is done based on a service by service basis. And that's because there are certain services that are just never going to require GPS tracking, like cat sitting, because you're not going outside. If you're doing daycare, drop off, you don't need photo check-in, you don't need GPS. The customer's standing right in front of you. Everybody knows what's going on. So no oversight needed there. I'm just going to open up our 30-minute walk service here. And what you see here is I've named it 30-minute walk, and we saw that name pushed through into the appointment form. This is also what your customers will see when they're scheduling. We have a description, and we're going to use this for a future website integration. But right now, there's nothing really that shows up for your customer. If you want to have the description for yourself or to use at a later date, you can put that in. But right now, it just doesn't do anything. The price of the service is $25, and I've set a duration of 30 minutes. The duration can literally be whatever you want it to be. So for instance, if I'm doing like a overnight pet care, I could set this to 12 hours. All I would do is multiply 12 by 60. I think it's 720 or 980 or something offhand. And you can enter that in here as well. So for instance, if I go into something like our 3-hour nature trip, you'll see here it's 180 minutes. This service required actually has to do with some reminders for the pet sitter when they're filling out the report card. So I'll bring this up again and it'll make a little more sense at that time. Enable photo check-in. You can turn off here. You can turn off location tracking. And then here's where you would set that global rate that I talked about. So for instance, if you start off everybody at 50%, then you do that. And again, you can override it on a staff member by staff member basis. You can also set a fixed amount. So I think this service is $35. So maybe I pay like 20 to the staff members, and I can do a fixed fee that way. If I pay hourly, then I would just select staff are not paid for this service, and this way it won't be pushed over to the payroll report. We do only track payroll for companies that pay per service. For hourly, that would need to be done with a separate system. So that's how you set up the primary services. Very similarly here is how you set up add-ons, except that we have two special add-on services. So if you're creating an add-on service that deals with feeding or medication, you're going to want to pick one of these options here. And then for everything else, there's custom. So as you can see here in my add-on list, I have food. So we see here that I selected feeding, and then I name this food. And for injectable medication here, you can see that I've chosen the medication option, injectable medication. And I also have an oral medication option. Treats would be under food. And then I have water plants here, which would just be under custom. This has a couple of effects. The first of which being anytime the customer or the admin selects these add-ons in the appointment form, it's going to ask which pets are supposed to get these things, because it's not always everybody getting everything. Whereas with something like water plants, when you check it off, it's not related to a pet service. So it's just going to let you select water plants. So similarly, it could say take out trash, bring in trash, pick up the mail, any kind of things like that. So we have the ability there to change things up. There is another thing that happens in the staff app, which I'll draw your attention to when we get into the apps in just a second, that deals with food and medication, and the notes for that being a little bit easier to find. I'm going to move now into our automated surcharges, what we call smart charges. And we have a number of these. All of these can be charged based on a fixed price or a percentage of the primary service that's being offered. So what we have here is an additional pet fee that we saw already. In this case, I have it set to $5, but I could also do like a 15% upcharge for each additional pet as well. The next thing we have is cancellations. So if a customer cancels, in this case, within 24 hours of the appointment, we're going to charge them full fee. Again, all of this is customizable, so you can make it a fixed amount, keep it a percentage. You could change it to 12 hours, 15 hours, however you want to do that. For holidays, we have a holiday list you can choose from, and we also have the ability for you to enter custom holiday dates. So for instance, some people just charge on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Other companies charge the entire week of Christmas as a holiday. So you could select Christmas Eve and Christmas Day from our predefined list of holidays, and then go in and add all the other days as a manual holiday. So what we have here is the list of different holidays. If you are visiting our demo from another country, this will populate with the most popular holidays of observance in your country. And again, then we can add custom dates here as well. In addition to those, we have a last minute booking fee that you can charge. So in this case, any appointment that's booked within 24 hours of the start time is going to have a 25% upcharge on it. And here we can charge extra as well on weekends. Now, these are slightly prescriptive. They have to be that way. We just need to pick what we think would work best for a large group of companies, but we understand that it may not be perfect for everyone. We do encourage people's feedback on it, and we are known to make some changes when necessary, but we also have the ability to add a custom surcharge. So you can see here, I have like a special accident cleanup surcharge, and here I have an after hours surcharge. Those would need to be applied manually by the administrator, either when creating an appointment, you can do it after the fact, or when approving an appointment. If I go in here, and let's just pretend we had a bad accident that we had to clean up that took the pet sitter like a lot of time. I can go into this completed appointment here. Let's just say the sitter sent me a message, that we needed some additional time. And I can come in here and select accident cleanup and save those changes. And then that accident cleanup fee is now part of the service. So we'll come back to the settings here. The next thing we're going to take a look at here is service agreements. So here I've just set up like a little test service agreement, sent that out, and I can look now and see that I have 2 people who have signed it and a number of people who haven't signed it, so we can track signing the service agreements. All you would do here is copy and paste your service agreement here. You can format it, make it look nice, and then once you save that and hit publish, it's pushed out to the apps. If you change your service agreement and publish it, all of your customers, the next time they open the app for any reason, would be required to sign the newest service agreement available. We have the ability to add gratuity. This is a button that's added to the checkout email. Customer taps the button, pretty standard. They're given 3 options, a 10%, a 15%, and a 20% gratuity, as well as the option to leave a custom amount. Those are pushed forward onto the invoice so that you can bill them for the gratuity, as well as added to the payroll report so that you know which staff member is receiving it. We have a prevent early check-ins option for the mobile app. And then here we have a number of notification options. By default, we send you all notifications for new requests or cancellations. But if you're like me and you don't like getting your email flooded, you can set a threshold for when you want to be notified. So in this case, I'd be notified when a customer puts in a new request only if it's within 24 hours of the start time. And same with cancellations, just because I don't like to get inundated with the emails. I'd rather go in and just look at all the pending appointments a couple times a day and get everything knocked out that way. So this just lets me know personally with the 24 hours that I have to go in and do something right away, that I can't wait till tomorrow. We have a late notification. If I turn this on, I can set a threshold for what I consider late, and we'll send a push notification out to the pet sitter, and the admin will receive an email report letting them know that a pet sitter or a group of pet sitters is late to an appointment. And then we have the upcoming pet birthday email, and what we do is email you a list to the admin account basically listing all the birthdays for the next week. So we send that out every Monday, and it's for the next Monday through Sunday. So you have time to prepare before that happens. And then this is just where you get the installation information for adding the leads form to your website. That's all I have on admin right now. I'm going to get the app set up here real quick. Okay, we're on my phone here now. And I'm going to go ahead and start us out in the pet owners app. So what you're seeing here is what the pet owner sees when they open their app. If I tap the menu, we're given some options. So if you take credit card and they want to change their payment information, they can go ahead and do that here. They can update their human profile. They can upload a picture if they want, edit all the address information, home entry instructions, alarm instructions, things like that. If we come into the pets here, we can add new pets, we can edit existing pets, deactivate pets. They can see all the different information that they have here. This is also available on a tablet. So if your customers are more comfortable entering all this on a tablet, they have the ability to do that. Here's my other pet. If I tap the photo, it gives me some options for uploading a new one. And I'll jump back into the schedule here. So what we're seeing here is all the days that this customer has an appointment. So for instance, I can skip ahead to Monday, open up Monday's appointment. You'll see the date there, January 21st. And for instance, I can cancel this appointment by hitting that little Ghostbuster symbol in the upper right-hand corner. And we'll cancel that. I'm sure I want to do that. It'll let the customer know that the appointment's been canceled. It shows up as canceled in their list of appointments as well. And for good measure, we'll cancel this one too. So now I've just canceled out Monday. I can come right back to today by tapping on the month. And let's just say I want to make a change here. Let's just say Egret is not going to be at the house today. Maybe she has a grooming appointment or something like that. And I just want to save this appointment. It's a one-time change, I'm sure. Because I only changed something that doesn't affect the timing or the duration of the appointment, it automatically reapproved the change for the customer, so they still see their appointment in there. But if I were to come in here and, for instance, make an edit, come in here and change the date of the appointment to maybe Friday. Actually, that's going to be a conflict. So let's do a different change. Maybe I want to change it from evening to late afternoon. And I hit save. It's going to let them know right away that this is now pending approval because they've changed the time of the appointment. As an administrator, you'll receive an email alert, and it'll let you know that a customer's made a change that requires a reapproval. So we have a little alert system there for that. And those are the changes I can make. I can also just go ahead and add a new appointment. So I'll do one for today. Looks like it is almost 10 a.m. So we'll do that. You can see here, I'm selecting the time block that I have predefined in there. So they'll see the name that you assigned to the time block, and then they'll see what that time block is. Again, just like the admin, I have the same ability to create repeating appointments here. So every day, weekly, bi-weekly, and I can leave it open-ended or add an end date. For this instance, I'm just going to make a one-time appointment. I'm going to add some food, and you can see here, similar to admin, I pick who gets what. Oops. This is letting me know that I have an additional pet surcharge and a last-minute booking fee being applied. And I'll leave a note. And then now we have that appointment pending approval. I'm going to come in here real quick and just approve it because we are going to use this appointment in the staff app. And just like the customer, I probably closed the app now at this point. And if I reopen it, now you're going to see that 10 a.m. appointments listed as approved. I do have one thing I want to show you, and that's that completed appointment that I showed you on admin earlier. So this is what a completed appointment looks like. for the customer after it's completed. So here's a rundown of the details of the appointment. Here's the map of where we went with the check-in and checkout time. They have access to the report card. And here's the photos that I took during the appointment. Right, I'll take us into the staff app in just a second here. So what we have here in the staff app is a list of all the appointments for the day. You'll see in the top right-hand corner, there's a picture of a key. If I do have a central location with key codes, I can just tap that, and it's going to give me a list of all the keys that I need for the day. If, for example, you're on the 18th by accident and you tap that, it's going to definitely let you know that you're on the wrong day so that you don't take keys for tomorrow by accident when you meant to take keys for today just because you were on the wrong date there. If I open the menu here, I can edit my staff profile and upload a picture. And as well as contact Scout support if I need something as well. From here, I'm going to open up the appointment. So this is the one that we just created. I can take a look at the pet's profile. If I need a bigger picture of the pet, I just tap it again. And again, I can just do a quick review here. These icons are just letting me know what to expect in the appointment. So there's going to be some feeding things, some medication things that need to be done for each of the pets. Here's the address. If I tap that, it'll take me over to my phone map and give me directions on how to get to the client. There's that key code, so I can look up the key code. There's some home entry instructions to enter through the side door. They have an alarm, so here's the alarm information, the arm disarm instructions, and then we have just some basic important information here. And you can see there in a different color, we have the customer note here, and that's just because we don't want the pet sitter to miss that the pet owner has sent them a note. So we want that to really be called out a little differently and can catch the person's eye. So the next thing I'm going to do is start the appointment. For this particular appointment, we have photo check-in enabled. So what I'm going to do is hold this to check in. What you're seeing is a fail-safe here so you don't miss the alarm. So that check-in step is actually meant to be done outside. The alarm information, if there is any, will come up. Once I've dismissed the alarm, or if there's no alarm information for this home, what you'll do is you'll see this photo check-in screen come right up. So what I'm going to do is take a picture here, my little figurine of Paul McCartney. We'll use that photo. And now I'm in the report card. So theoretically here, it's just giving me it. Well, it's not theoretical. It's telling me everything I need to do. In theory, I'd be leashing up the pet, going for the walk, coming back, and then taking care of all of these add-ons. So the food and medication notes are available just by hitting that little information button there. This way you don't have to like open up the pet profile and like search for things that you need right away. So again, there's that feeding note, and that again is tied to using those templates in the add-on. So I'm going to go ahead and fill out the report card as if we had done everything. We'll leave a note. And if I wanted to go ahead and take another picture, I can do that as well. And I'm going to go ahead and end the appointment. Earlier, I talked to you about the required service. And so in this case, food was listed as a required service. So when I checked out without checking it off, it did give me a reminder. I could either go back and check that off, or in this case, I added a note that they had run out of food. So I'm going to go ahead and end that anyway. You're seeing a breakdown of the map here. I didn't obviously go anywhere, so that's not going to show anything but where my house is. And then what we're seeing here is the ability for me as the pet sitter to write a note to the manager. So I can say, and I can go ahead and send that note via email to the manager so that they know what's going on, especially if they look and see the report card and that food's not checked off. And also maybe as the pet sitter, I want to get reimbursed. So I want to make sure they know I'm going to send a receipt over. And then you'll see here back on the home screen here that the appointment's been completed, and I can move on to the next one. We do allow for pack walking, so you can check into multiple appointments at the same time, run them all at the same time, check out of them individually, that kind of thing. So we are enabled for people who do group walking. Thank you so much for your time. I know how difficult it is as a pet sitter myself to kind of carve out that time to do this. So much appreciated. Have a nice afternoon.